reborn on the very day my sister Zara and I were in the midst of choosing our future husbands. I discovered an unbelievable new ability. I could suddenly pick up on the thoughts of those around me. I distinctly heard Zara's inner voice exclaim, "This time, I've absolutely got to lock down a stellar husband from the get-go." In that exact moment, she swiftly swept away the kind-hearted gentleman I'd once married in my previous life, leaving me with the cruel fellow who had tormented her daily. I couldn't help but smirk to myself, thinking, did she really believe that my previous husband was all that back then? I found myself back on that fateful day again, seated at the dining table with Zara as we began the process of selecting our spouses. Before us sat two eligible bachelors of the same age. One was Liam, who naturally exuded an effortlessly cool and aloof vibe. The other was Derek, an illegitimate child known for his soft-hearted nature. Just then, the thought that Zara had echoed rang loudly in my ears. This time, I absolutely need to snag a top-tier husband. I glanced over at her. Though she wasn't speaking aloud, her eyes were fixed on Derek with unmistakable intent. "I'm taking you, no doubt," she silently mused. In that instant, the realization hit me squarely. I wasn't only reborn, but I'd gained the uncanny power to hear people's minds, and it appeared that Zara had also been granted this second chance. Before I could delve any further into the mystery, Zara sidled over to Derek with a bashful smile and softly introduced herself. "Hi, I'm Zara. I really like you." At that very moment, our dad, Ray, interjected, "Evelyn, since your sister has chosen Derek, you'll be marrying Liam." Zara's eyes twinkled with satisfaction as she internally celebrated. "This time, you'll take all the punishment for me." In our previous life, Zara had ended up with Liam, a man with impressive business acumen, but who was ever so cold, always too busy to care. And though she'd repeatedly reached out to him, she'd been met with nothing but abuse and eventual rejection. Because she couldn't have children, Liam's grandmother, Bee, had dismissed her, wrongly assuming she was unwell. Meanwhile, I had wedded Derek, who, despite lacking power, provided just enough to keep me company through endless shopping, dining, and indulgence. Everyone knew we shared an unbreakable bond. However, after Liam mysteriously died from poisoning, Derek inherited the family business and my social status soared. Zara's envy grew until it eventually drove both of us to ruin out of sheer jealousy. "Okay, Dad, I actually fancy Liam too," I said with a light smile as I sat next to him. Even though Liam's imposing presence initially unnerved me, I felt a far greater sense of security with him compared to Derek, who now struck me as a real snake. Determined this time not to let my tragic fate repeat itself, I vowed to become rich and independent, relying on no one. Zara and I planned a joint wedding just as before, though unsurprisingly, Liam hadn't shown up for our nuptials in our past life either. It was Derek who had arrived first, prompting whispers that he was the more attentive spouse. True to form, he even scooped up Zara early that day, casting a smug look my way as she teased, "Sis, where's Liam to pick you up?" I merely smiled and replied, "Don't worry about me, just focus on your own deal." Inwardly, she fumed, thinking, "Let's see how high and mighty you feel after your share of beatings." With that, Zara walked off arm in arm with Derek, though it was far too early to say who would eventually end up laughing last. And since Liam had once again failed to show up at the wedding, Zara and I found ourselves subject to the same gossipy stares and muttered remarks as in our past life. Zara's delight was evident as she boldly declared her love for Derek with a kiss right on the spot, her eyes fixed on me in a way that seemed to dare me to squirm. But I wasn't about to repeat her past mistakes and make an exit in a dramatic fashion, risking becoming the subject of ridicule. In our former life, people had labeled Zara as too immature for the eldest son, Liam, which had led to a widely disdained marriage riddled with hardship. Instead, I picked up the microphone with a confident smile and announced, "Liam has an important business meeting today, so I'll be standing in for him during the toast. I hope that's okay with everyone." Immediately, the murmurs subsided. At the head table, Bee regarded my composure with respect, for the Dawson's family prided itself on appearances and calm conduct. Zara caught Bee's approving glance and felt a surge of anger. "Gross! I'm going to embarrass you at tea time," she mentally vowed. Honestly, having the ability to read minds was like wielding a superpower. Everything became a bit simpler. When it was time for the toast, I confidently strode up to B, my dress in hand. Zara had been counting 1, 2, 3 in her head, but at the last second, I dodged aside to grab the teapot, and she ended up falling and drenching herself in tea. Are you okay? Derek rushed over, though inwardly he scoffed at her clumsiness. People turned to see B fuming, her sharp rebuke cutting through the chatter. Such clumsiness! Zara mumbled an insincere apology, resentment clear in her eyes. I thought if I were in her shoes, I'd just stop causing trouble and live quietly. Since she never wanted peace for me, neither would I back down. Zara's public humiliation ended the wedding far earlier than planned. B gave Zara the coldest of glares throughout while favoring me instead, even going so far as to hold my hand. Evelyn, I promise I'll make sure Liam comes back for you tonight, B whispered. Sure enough, later that evening, Liam reappeared looking exhausted and untying his tie as he stepped back inside. Rushing over to help him with his clothes, I remarked, Liam, today must have been a tough day, huh? He shot a brief glance in my direction but said nothing. I remembered the gossip from our previous life. Liam never came home on the wedding night, leaving Zara to suffer alone in the bridal chamber. When Zara complained, Liam had coldly accused her of lacking the charm needed to win a man's heart. While Liam showered, I busied myself setting the bed and brewing tea for him. I then settled on the sofa, planning to spend the night there alone. Soon after, Liam emerged from the shower, his face holding a mix of surprise and hesitation. I quickly chirped, You go take the bed, I've got the couch. Come on, Evelyn, are you playing hard to get? He squinted at me in his robe, which revealed a tantalizing glimpse of his chest, droplets of water delicately clinging to his skin. I had to admit, the guy was in killer shape. But I quickly averted my gaze. Nah, there's nothing going on between us. Sharing a bed would just be plain awkward. I'd even be open to a little arrangement. An arrangement? He echoed. Yeah, I continued. Since this is a business marriage, most couples like us lead separate lives while keeping up appearances. I married you mainly for a secure life, not true love. Liam grinned slyly. You're sharp. Exactly what I was thinking. I can totally agree to that. I'm just an average person, not exactly built to hold a man's heart. In the Dawsons, my treatment depends entirely on B's opinion. I definitely don't want to end up like Zara did in my previous life, constantly battling everyone. Besides, back then, Liam even hurt Zara. I don't plan on stirring that pot and getting on his bad side. I just want to build my wealth, kickstart my own business, and succeed on my own terms. To keep up the facade of a happy union, I even had Liam post a picture of us holding hands on Twitter with the caption, Happy Wedding. Everyone was led to believe that we were blissfully united. I did a little recon on his Twitter, and it seemed pretty bare bones. Just that one post, no extraneous drama. Clearly, he led a boring life. At bedtime, as expected, Liam claimed the bed, and I was relegated to the couch. He clearly didn't understand tenderness at all, but hey, I supposed I should be grateful in my reborn life. The next morning, I was roused by the sound of Liam doing push-ups while jamming to some music early in the day. I'd heard that men uninterested in romance often ended up looking scrawny, but Liam sported a rippling 8-pack and legs that could only be described as powerful, way more impressive than Derek's slighter build. Stop staring, I'm not interested in you, he suddenly called out as he hopped off the floor. Get dressed. Let's roll out for breakfast, he added, as if implying that our public display of a harmonious couple was necessary for appearances. Honestly, I began to wonder why he'd ever hit me in our previous life when he clearly seemed so chill now. After getting ready, Liam and I stepped outside together, and as we left, I spotted Zara and Derek strolling in our direction, fingers entwined. Zara was dressed in a strapless number that flaunted kiss marks on her shoulders with proud bravado, practically daring me to compare. She glanced me up and down, clearly scrutinizing every detail while thinking, all dolled up, probably trying to hide the bruises. With a smug smile, Zara jibed, So, how was your wedding night, Evelyn? You know, today I rocked a proper long-sleeve cheapao. She conveniently forgot that B despised revealing outfits at home and that heavy makeup wasn't exactly tolerated. I kept my cool and simply smiled. Zara, in the Dawson family, you should call me sister-in-law, not sister. Her expression soured, lips biting in silent defiance. Who are you to say that? She snapped. Then she turned to Liam. Hey, Liam, say something. Sensing Liam's growing chill, I caught the shift in his demeanor immediately. Derek, for his part, silently seethed. In his mind, he cursed, Idiot, watch me sort you out tonight, tugging Zara's hand as if signaling her to quiet down. But Zara, ever oblivious to the gravity of the situation, pressed on. Derek, what's the number one rule of our household? Liam's gentle voice cut through the tension, and Derek meekly lowered his head. Sorry, bro. I'll handle Zara right away. In the very next moment, a resounding slap echoed as Derek struck Zara across the face. Greet your brother and sister-in-law properly, he barked. My cheeks burned with embarrassment at the hit, while Zara, knowing full well that Liam wasn't someone to trifle with, muttered reluctantly, Good morning, brother and sister-in-law. Derek then marched Zara away, a grim reminder of the Dawson family's cardinal rule. No one shall disrespect the heir and his wife. Don't you dare address them by their first names or the punishment will be severe. In my past life, I'd learned these rules by heart in order to survive. When Zara married Liam before, she had bullied me, but I knew my place and dared not challenge her. I assumed Zara was aware of these rules too, only to later find out she wasn't. She thought she could push me around in this life too. At the dining hall, Zara had already begun to face the consequences. Her face was pale as she kept her head down and didn't dare step out of line. I caught sight of Derek mischievously rolling a needle beneath the table onto Zara's hand. Damn it, because of you, I'm getting scolded, he silently fumed, pressing a little harder. In my past life, shortly after I married Derek, he had begun abusing me, keeping me voiceless and desperate. That's why I'd rather be with Liam than endure Derek's torment. Zara, you chose your husband in this life. Don't go blaming me, Bea announced as she entered, and we all rose to greet her. Leaning on her cane, Bea's eyes flicked over to Zara, who was still in her strapless dress. Noticing Bea's disappointed glare, Zara forced a nervous smile, embarrassed. Mom, Derek wanted me to have a child, she stammered. At her words, Bea suddenly erupted, slamming her cane down on Zara's back. How shameless. What you do in private is none of your business, so quit blabbing about it, and for heaven's sake, dress appropriately. You bring shame to us all. In our previous life, a servant had been fired by Bea for wearing shorts. Since then, I've always been careful. Zara truly believed her good fortune was all thanks to the man she married. But her reasoning was flawed. Why rely on someone else for a good life? Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't know. Zara mumbled weakly, sweat beading from the sting as Derek scrambled to offer an explanation. It's my bad. I forgot to remind her. Derek said this aloud, though inwardly he relished it. Serves her right. Getting smacked makes me happy. I know he's twisted, he thought darkly. Since Zara had only just married, Bea said no more, allowing everyone to eat in silence. Liam barely uttered a word throughout and even served me food. I sensed Zara's furious glances aimed at me, as if she longed to tear me to shreds. I only managed to smile wider, relishing my newfound poise. Thank you, hubby, Bea said approvingly, gripping my hand. Evelyn, after breakfast, go with Liam to the company. As his wife, you need to learn about the business. I'd expected Bea to say something to Zara instead, as she had in our past life. But Zara had stubbornly refused, claiming, I don't want to learn. I'll just rely on Liam forever. And in the end, she ended up with nothing. All right, Mom, I replied, and Liam whisked me away to the office. In the car, I tried reading his thoughts, but he remained like a closed book, a man who wasn't easily flustered. Once we arrived at the company, Liam ushered me into his office. Wait here, he said casually over his shoulder and left. Peering through the glass door, I saw him rushing into a meeting with a sharp British gentleman named Oliver. They were negotiating a deal to sell a skincare formula Oliver had developed. I mentally noted, good thing I did my homework, the Dawsons are loaded, but this formula is only worth a few $100. I'm going to make sure they pay through the nose. I could literally hear Oliver's thoughts as well, and his face remained expressionless despite all his scheming. Oliver requested $3 million, and while Liam hesitated for a moment, Oliver seized the chance. Liam, my product will boost your value way beyond 3 million. Just as Liam was about to agree, I suddenly burst in. Greeting Oliver in English, I snatched up his skincare serum and said, I'm a woman. I care about my skin. Your formula only has whitening ingredients. No anti-aging power whatsoever. And as an engineer, you know as well as I do that whitening is just marketing hype. The effects are pretty negligible. So tell me, why is your formula valued at 3 million? Oliver stood dumbfounded, frozen in place. Liam, with uncharacteristic interest, let me continue. Emboldened, I added, even if it's a foreign product enhanced by social media buzz, people trust the brand. So I can only offer you, I signaled with a single finger and stated, 1 million. Oliver's eyes widened in shock. 1 million? That's too generous, he stuttered. Think it over, Liam. But before he could continue, I interjected. No, no, no. I'm offering you 10,000. For something only worth a few hundred, 10,000 is my absolute limit. Oliver leaped up, exclaiming in broken Chinese, Miss, who are you to make such an offer? I can't possibly do business like this. Maybe I just won't sell it. As he moved to leave, Liam coolly said, Oliver, sign the contract, and I need you to apologize to my wife. Oliver spun around in disbelief, and I barely managed to step in before he could protest, though Liam signaled for me to remain silent. Liam, you're a true businessman, Oliver chuckled before turning to me, apologizing. Sorry, I didn't realize you were Liam's wife. Liam then calmly guided Oliver into signing the contract. Afterward, I couldn't wrap my head around why a formula valued at only a few hundred should fetch 1 million. When I asked, Liam poured himself a coffee and replied coolly, You've got a keen business sense, but you don't understand the market yet. I knew Oliver's formula was basically worthless. My real interest lay in the brand he'd built, which, though not yet famous, already resonated with young women. With a bit of extra promotion, I could quickly recoup that million. Suddenly, everything made sense. No wonder Oliver was so confident. Coming here was totally worth it. I had learned so much, yet I still wondered how Liam could be so perceptive about the formula's true value. When he looked straight at me and asked, How did you know it was only worth a few hundred? I gave him an impish, sheepish grin and said, Just a hunch. He didn't press any further, so I seized the moment to ask him if I might run one of the company's branches. In my previous life, Derek had left me with no standing in the Pay family, giving me nothing to build on. I was desperate to lead my own venture, to finally be my own boss. And once I made enough money, I'd leave. You've got big ambitions, so you're not planning on seizing the company and running it solo, are you? Liam's gaze penetrated me as if he were reading my mind. Oh man, he's seriously good at that, I thought. Feeling suddenly inferior, even though I could hear others' thoughts, he still outclassed me. Of course not. I just want something to keep busy, I quickly replied. Liam took a contemplative sip of his coffee and said, All right, but you've got to learn from me first. Over the next few days, I shadowed Liam and absorbed everything about business etiquette and operations at the company. One day, he surprised me by taking me out to dinner at the swankiest restaurant in town. I wasn't expecting to see Zara and Derek there. Zara was in the midst of slicing her steak when she clumsily dropped her knife and fork upon noticing our presence. Her eyes widened and she blurted, Evelyn, you're here too? Then, trying to cover up, she corrected herself. Brother, sister-in-law, you're joining us for dinner as well? In the very next moment, I distinctly picked up her inner thought. Just my luck running into them now. Gotta keep it together. I shrugged it off, saying casually, Yeah, Liam and I came for dinner. Linking arms with Liam, I headed for our table. I couldn't help but notice Zara's jaw clenching as she likely wondered why Liam hadn't hit me yet and even escorted me to dinner. Later in the restroom, her stare burned with a fierce glare, just like the one she'd shot at me when she once rammed her car into mine in a past life. Liam must be giving you a hard time behind closed doors, she sneered. Pretending everything's fine makes me sick, she spat, eyeing the needle marks on her arm. Oh dear, Zara, what happened? So many marks. Her eyes flickered with panic as she quickly covered her arm. None of your business, just a bit of fun with Derek. You wouldn't understand, right? She snapped. Liam, completely unfazed, interjected as we prepared to leave. Hope you and Derek stay happy, giving a dismissive nod. Zara's grip on my hair tightened as she hissed, You're mocking me, you bitch! I frowned. She was as wild as ever. I struggled to free myself just as Liam stepped in and swatted her aside. You know the rule, don't you? Disrespect your sister-in-law and you're in for a serious time out, he said firmly, pulling me close as I remembered all too clearly the dire punishment I'd once endured. A stint locked in a dungeon swarming with rats, roaches, and snakes. Zara's face drained of color, the terror on her face unmistakable. Liam, I didn't mean it. Don't treat me like that, she pleaded. But Liam's decisions were never up for negotiation. He had a steely resolve once he'd set his mind on something. Without further ado, he sent Derek to take Zara away while Derek inwardly cursed, Hope she rots in there, I'm over this mess. Afterwards, Liam escorted me back to our room and gently checked on me. You all right? He asked softly. Yeah, I'm fine, I replied, though I had to push away his tug on my hair and quickly fix my clothes and hair. But why were you in the restroom for so long? And why did you get into another fight with Zara? He pressed, his dark eyes locked onto mine. I hesitated, knowing I couldn't reveal that Zara was once again deliberately picking on me. Well, Zara was boasting about how she and Derek have a wild love life, unlike you, who barely even touches me. I blurted out, much to my regret. Liam's eyes gleamed for a brief moment. So you're hinting at something? He queried. Realizing his misunderstanding, I quickly shook my head. No, that's not it. I just wanted to explain why she was upset. Then, his tone shifted as he stared at me intensely. Ever thought about having a bit of fun with me? He asked. Of course not, I quickly retorted. I told you, I just want a comfortable life relying on you, nothing more. I nodded firmly, and without further comment, he abruptly slammed the door and left. I was left standing there, confused about what had upset him, though I definitely hadn't intended to hurt his feelings. I simply wanted to focus on achieving my goals. The next day, Liam decided not to escort me to the office. Instead, he sent me off to manage the branch on my own. I threw myself into running the branch, aiming to make a cool $1 million before eventually stepping back. Every day, I hustled through projects and negotiations, raking in profits left and right. Even Liam's mom encouraged me to take my share. Meanwhile, as I was busy stacking cash, I later came home to find Zara emerging from the dungeon. She'd lost a lot of weight, but still managed to put on her makeup and dress to impress. Clutching Derek close, she approached me and said, Evelyn, I applied to Mom to learn about company operations from you so I can lighten your load. Inside Derek's head, however, he was thinking, soon I'm going to have both you and Liam out of the picture. I suddenly recalled that in my former life, Liam had mysteriously died from poisoning, and now it seemed Derek might be behind it, plotting to kill both Liam and me. I stifled a shiver as I looked at Zara. All right, come tomorrow, I said deliberately, determined to uncover her schemes. Almost immediately, I heard her inner voice, dripping with malice. Stupid girl, just wait. I'll kill all of you and live life my way. Little did she know, I could hear every thought. How could she possibly do me harm? I mused, recalling how Liam had succumbed to poisoning in my previous life after coming across a cabinet filled with vividly colored vials in Derek's basement. Derek, who'd experimented on me with such substances that sometimes left me blacking out. Other times hyperactive. In hindsight, those ingredients were the very recipe for poison. Strategically, I steered Zara toward the company and demoted her to an intern role. Gradually, she learned to keep her emotions in check and obeyed my directions without question. I knew full well that Zara had been hatching a plan to murder Derek, part of a scheme that would eliminate Liam, Derek, and even me. But her plan to poison Derek ended up playing directly into my hands. I soon arranged a private meeting with Derek, away from Liam's watchful eyes. Knowing Derek's penchant for obedient, coquettish women, I deliberately dressed in a slightly revealing outfit and gave him a flirtatious smile. Derek, I'm really into you, I purred, adding with a cheeky wink. Ain't you a bit scared that Liam might come after you? I pretended to be coy, biting my lip. Derek's face turned a deep red as he shot me a look that said he was both amused and agitated. Are you serious? He demanded. Absolutely, I confirmed. And by the way, I overheard that Zara's planning to poison you. Derek's eyes widened in shock. For real? He barked. Totally. She's been hitting you so much that she's ready to off you. All because she's itching to climb to the top. I added, slipping effortlessly into a tone of cool, almost casual street speak. Yo, no cap. Derek's mind reeled, accepting every word I said. Deep down, apart from his own twisted side that no one else knew about, he was willing to trust me completely. Just wait. Once Liam and Zara are out, you'll be all mine, he grumbled before storming off. Inwardly, I scoffed. Does he really think I'm that gullible? No chance in hell. Without wasting a moment, I dashed after Liam. Although his life, or death, didn't mean as much to me now, he had been instrumental in teaching me the ropes of business. In his office, Liam's eyes narrowed as I confronted him. Do you have any proof that Derek's out to get me? I fumbled with a voice recorder and played back the incriminating conversation I had with Derek, which included a part where I deliberately flirted to earn his trust, even though it made me cringe. Liam's expression darkened as I awkwardly shut my mouth. Then, without warning, he pulled me into his arms. The scent of pine wood enveloped me, and I could hear his heartbeat thundering. Completely flustered, I met his deep gaze. Evelyn, he warned, I advise you not to even think about betraying me. As long as you're my wife, you'll remain loyal. I quipped in a half-joking tone. Silly man, that's not even the point. Before I could clarify further, Liam abruptly added, We'll see what your thoughts are. If Derek fails, he's gone for good. His calm tone turned icy as he continued. Then you'll see. Later that evening, Liam even took me to a party under the guise that it would benefit our branch's growth by introducing me to important clients. As we entered, I felt many lingering stares, each loaded with not-so-nice intentions. Liam's internal monologue echoed, Men are no good. Shouldn't have brought her along. And I was shocked to catch even him thinking that. His inward dialogue left me stunned. The suave, unflappable CEO I thought I knew was revealing glimpses of his true self. What did you mean by that? I asked, and Liam simply lowered his eyes, murmuring, What's up? His mind whispered, So clueless, leaving me even more baffled. The rest of the evening was a blur, a tense mix of hidden agendas and secret glances. After the party, Liam drove me home. Derek and Lila were waiting in the living room as Zara had organized dinner. Derek's eyes gleamed unmistakably as he commented, Bro, Zara and I picked up some bangin' food today. Join us. His intentions were as clear as day. I couldn't help but wonder, as I looked at the table piled with mouth-watering dishes, how on earth had Liam ended up getting poisoned by such a lame trick in our last life? I grabbed Liam's hand underneath the table, signaling him not to eat, but the very next moment he snatched up a plate and scarfed it down so quickly I had no time to react. It tastes so good. Let's all chow down together, he declared, a mischievous glint in his eye. As soon as he said that, a flicker of joy danced in Zara and Derek's eyes. I anxiously squeezed Liam's hand in protest, but he didn't seem to notice. I had clearly warned him about the danger, so why did he still eat? Before I could ponder this further, both Liam and Zara suddenly collapsed onto the table. Bee's furious appearance soon followed. Guards, take these two beasts straight to the dungeon and don't you ever let them out, she roared. Evelyn, I'm not as stupid as you think, Liam stated coolly, glancing at me. I recalled that I had earlier arranged for our home to be rigged with cameras. When we caught Derek slipping poison into the drinks, we promptly swapped them with sedatives. Lowering his voice, Liam remarked, Seems like you're really scared of me dying. Could it be that you've actually fallen for me? For some inexplicable reason, my heart skipped a beat. No, I stammered. I'm just terrified that if you die, I'll have no one left to rely on. Liam's face broke into a bright smile. Is that so? He replied. With Zara and Derek securely locked up in the dungeon, I finally felt a wave of relief. The two people I had feared the most were finally out of the picture, and I'd made enough money to plan my next move, filing for divorce. I kept looking for the perfect moment to bring it up, but Liam's busy schedule meant that our time together was scarce. One day, the servants mentioned that both Derek and Zara were constantly requesting to see me. I decided to visit Zara first. Her hair was a disheveled mess, and she looked utterly spent, her eyes brimming with resentment. "How did you know I planned to kill you?" she demanded. "How'd you find out?" I pressed. For a split second, she seemed to realize I was onto her. "I get it now. You're back too," I said with a knowing smile. Zara's face turned red with fury. "So it just hit you now? You wench. You hit it real well, huh? You always knew Derek was a psycho, right? And you just sat back and watched me dive right into the deep end, Emily. How could you be so evil?" Her voice rose in anger as I looked deeply into her eyes, which, despite being my older sister, now mirrored so much of my own conflicted self. In my previous life, she had nearly killed me with her own hands. Had it not been for this ability to hear thoughts, I probably wouldn't be here at all. You chose Derek just as you chose Liam, with your own damn hands. None of your decisions ever please you, so you blame me without ever admitting your own faults. You always wanted to lean on a man, while I just wanted to stand on my own 2 feet. That's the difference between us. But seriously, why does everything always work out for you? Zara roared. You see me thriving behind the scenes. I've been working my ass off to save myself while you, with no effort at all, always expect someone else to rescue you. That's exactly why you ended up like this. With that, I turned and strode away. Behind me, Zara shouted in frustration. Just you wait. Next time I won't lose to you. In Derek's cell, he was busy folding his blanket, looking as obsessed as ever. Upon spotting me, he chuckled darkly. Evelyn, you're so smart at hiding your true self. I actually believed you'd follow me this time. I was all set to wipe out Zara and Liam. But you really surprised me. You deserve this for being so evil. His voice grew colder, his face contorting as memories of the man who had tortured me in my previous life flashed before my eyes. Every word he muttered ignited my anger further. Stepping closer, he appraised me from head to toe and said, "If I weren't locked up, I'd pin you down and inject you with something that'd leave you feeling euphoric." I couldn't bear another moment of his twisted monologue and snapped, "Derek, you're definitely headed for hell." Without waiting for him to reply, I bolted out the door. Even outside, my heart pounded erratically as I tried to shake off the creepiness of his stare. Finally, I realized that in this life, I had truly broken free from him. That night, Liam returned home drunk. No sooner had he staggered in than he collided with me, and we both tumbled to the ground. "You're totally wasted," I exclaimed. "I'll fix you up some hangover soup," I offered, trying to push him off. But he clung stubbornly, his hands fumbling with his clothes as his eyes, filled with a strange desire, locked onto mine. In that moment, it dawned on me that he wasn't really drunk. "Liam, think about what you're doing. We're just partners. Don't even think about crossing that line," I pleaded. In a husky whisper, he covered my mouth and murmured, "No matter what happens, you're still my wife. I want to be close to you." I shoved him away, resolutely declaring, "No way. I'm divorcing you so you can't touch me." The room fell into an oppressive silence. Liam's face immediately turned cold and distant. "I knew you'd leave me," he said quietly, almost sorrowfully. "Evelyn, you're such a terrible woman. Have you already forgotten me?" "Forgotten you?" I asked, perplexed. "What do you mean?" His question stirred memories of childhood when there was a long-haired boy at school known as Little Liam. He always wore a face mask, and the other kids mocked him for being effeminate. But I had stepped up for him, taking him to the hills behind the school. "You can't be so timid," I'd told him. "You gotta protect yourself." Slowly, he had removed his mask and said, "Thanks. I just wanted to grow my hair long to donate to my aunt who had cancer." In that moment, I had seen the boy's true charm and fallen head over heels, secretly following him every day to ensure his safety. He had introduced himself as Little Liam, and when his aunt passed away and he eventually moved away, I spent years searching for him. Then one day, I discovered I could hear his thoughts, and I realized he was the one I had been waiting for. He didn't reveal himself back then, preferring to see if I would remember him and come to him first. He wanted to test if I still held on to those memories. At one point, his eyes turned an eerie red, and he said, Evelyn, I advise you not to leave once you've saved up $1 million. I hesitated, trying to explain. I avoided you because I was scared you'd leave, but I never expected to hear that from you. His voice softened as he added, Do you still want to leave now? I shook my head vigorously. Once, I thought I'd be happier if I were independent, relying solely on myself. But now that I realized he was Liam, the very man I'd been searching for, I knew I couldn't leave. In that instant, I understood why he'd always been so resistant to Zara in our previous life. He knew deep down it wasn't really me he wanted. Then, as if in slow motion, I felt his warm lips on mine. Evelyn, stay with me forever, he whispered. Tears welled in my eyes as I replied, Okay, let's be together forever. I thanked destiny for giving me another chance at life, so I wouldn't miss out on my true love.